The following ABC 11 Eyewitness News special is sponsored by Triangle Pest Control.
Hurricane season is here, and this year could be one of the most active we've ever seen.
But the ABC 11 First Alert Weather Team is here to get you ready.
Forecast for named storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes is the highest NOAA has ever issued.
We're breaking down just how many storms you can expect and what's happening in the Atlantic that could cause a hyperactive season.
Plus the growing use of drones, not only to forecast storms, but to respond to the disaster.
And remember, it only takes one storm to feel the lasting impacts.
We're here in downtown Whiteville, where the city saw significant flooding last year, not from a hurricane, but a tropical storm.
This one we were not expecting. We thought it was just a little bit of rain.
A little bit of rain that caused a big problem. What it took to get everything cleaned up. Lessons learned for this upcoming season.
And waiting 8 years for storm repairs.
That house was no longer safe to live in. And I was going to be blessed with a new home.
Our troubleshooter investigations into a state program meant to help hurricane victims. The progress made. The work still to be done, and what you need to know in case your home is damaged.
And some homes far beyond repair, some collapsing into the ocean as erosion continues to pose a threat.
It's Mother Nature taking its toll. If we get a hurricane, it's not going to be good.
The question now, what can be done to protect both homeowners and you during your next beach trip?
And we're breaking down the technology we use to get you life-saving information during a storm.
The First Alert Weather Team will be here with you every step of the way.
And now, an ABC 11 Eyewitness News special report. First alert to hurricane season. Sponsored by Triangle Pest Control.
Hi there, and thanks for joining us for this special edition of Eyewitness News from Atlantic Beach. I'm Chief Meteorologist Don Schwennick.
And I'm meteorologist Quaylin Murphy, and this is our severe weather special. Hurricane season is here, and 2024 is shaping up to be a very busy year. That's why Eyewitness News is dedicated to provide resources to keep you and your family safe.
Meteorologist Steve Stewart's in the First Alert Weather Lab, breaking down how many storms we could see this season and what is making the Atlantic so active this time of year.
The 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is going to be a busy one. We knew that going in, and NOAA's forecast really reflects that. But first, let's talk about an average season. Typically, we get 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. Now for NOAA's forecast, 17 to 25 named storms, 8 to 13 hurricanes, and 4 to 7 major hurricanes. Putting this in perspective, these are the biggest numbers NOAA has ever forecast in May. It is really going to be a busy season, and 2 main reasons why. Sea surface temperatures. They've been running well above average. You go back to March and April, the numbers were already way above average. And now we're talking about flirting with near record sea surface temperatures. The warmer the water, the more fuel for these storms to really get going. Number 2, it's a La Nina season we're going into. La Nina basically is a cooler waters in the Pacific, but that alters the winds aloft. And when that happens, we get less wind shear in the tropical Atlantic, and wind shear can tear storms apart. So with the absence of that wind shear and really warm sea surface temperatures, you bet it's going to be a very busy season.
Of course, we always have our eyes on the coast during hurricane season, but we know all too well that impacts can occur farther inland, and we know it doesn't take a hurricane for major flooding to occur. Meteorologist Robert Johnson is in Whiteville, about 130 miles from where we are right now. The city seeing some big impacts from a tropical storm last year.
I've lived here all my life. Nothing ever even came close.
That's how Terry Mann, the mayor of Whiteville, describes the flooding impact of Hurricanes Florence and Matthew on the city.
My grandfather started the business in 1922. My father worked there, and I never heard him in my lifetime talking about anywhere close to our store being flooded.
The city has taken measures to improve flood threats since Florence and Matthew. Despite the efforts, Tropical Storm Idalia turned the downtown business district into an unrecognizable river.
Different color stripes.
Paul Todd opened Todd's Clothing just weeks before Idalia inundated the area.
The water came a block away behind us, on the side of us, to the next corner. We didn't get any water.
Though his store was unaffected, it brought back memories from Matthew.
My wife, she owned a salon a few years back, and we were hit by a storm previously, so we had a lot of flooding in her salon. So, of course, there was some anxiety.
Since then, Whiteville has launched several projects to improve flood-ravaged areas. The city installed a taller, stronger bridge on the flood-prone west side of town after the old bridge washed away during Florence.
And has it flooded terribly so since this was built?
No. I mean, there was a little bit of flooding in the last tropical storm, but yeah, it didn't get near the level of the bridge. The park floods. It floods a little bit of the ball fields, but not to a big extent.
Now the city is teaming up with researchers at NC State's Coastal Design Lab, where engineers, architects, and graphic designers all come together to find ways to tame the torrent.
They're going to expand the culverts.
Plus, Mayor Mann says a new project will support the most vulnerable in the area.
We just got the final funding for a $5 million project, which is going to help the downtown, but it's really focusing on the west side of town into an African-American community that has had traditional flooding.
Mayor Mann says the city has also helped raise the level of people's homes, and they plan to widen the size of a nearby stream to slow the water's flow. But the city is only looking back so it can move forward.
We've had a strong revitalization of downtown. Most buildings are occupied now, and we've got work going on with some restaurants and stuff. So I'm proud of where our downtown is.
A lot of people, they came together, pitched together to help recover those that were flooded in the situation. We're resilient, and we'll just continue to be resilient.
We've seen drones just like this one play a huge role in responding to storms, but there's one group in Raleigh that's at the forefront of this technology. Vets to Drones provides training to veterans to become licensed drone pilots for everything from power line inspections to search and rescue. Last year, they offered disaster relief after Hurricane Idalia hit Florida, and even closer to home after an EF3 tornado tore through Nash County last July. But it's not just drones in the sky that are responding to storms. NOAA now has a fleet of drones on the water they're using to help improve their forecasts. This is a sail drone pushed along by the wind. It sails directly into a hurricane to send back critical weather data. Dr. Greg Foltz is the lead scientist at NOAA's Sail Drone program and says these amazing tools are one of a kind.
We're measuring the winds, the air pressure, the surface pressure, air temperature and humidity, the temperature and salinity of the ocean currents, and surface ocean waves. And all of this data goes to forecast centers around the world in real time. It's transmitted to them.
That data is fed into computer models to help us better forecast a storm's intensity. But it's not just sail drones sending back storm data.
There are aerial drones, which are deployed from the Hurricane Hunter aircraft that fly into hurricanes. And there are also uncrewed vehicles under the water, so they're called gliders. What we're trying to do is get them all lined up, get measurements from all of them together in a hurricane ideally, and that'll give us a good knowledge of the whole structure of the ocean and the atmosphere.
Plus, Dr. Foltz says there's so much more to learn about these massive storms, and his sail drone team has a lot of work ahead of them.
We're trying to get sail drones into as many hurricane eye walls as we can. That's really hard, difficult data to get, and it's really valuable to help understand these really, not very well understood processes that happen in a hurricane near the surface of the ocean.
And that's data that can be used to give you more time to prepare in case of a storm along our coast.
Still ahead, rebuilding after a hurricane.
The Troubleshooter is tracking a state program that's meant to help, and how long it took to get some people the storm repairs that they were promised.
I'm Tom George here on the Outer Banks, where homes like this one have just collapsed into the ocean as erosion continues. What's being done to tackle those safety issues for homeowners and beachgoers?
As we head to break, we've got the First Alert weather team together to talk about the difference between hurricane watches and warnings, and when we issue a First Alert day.
So in a watch, we know that we have all the ingredients. You use a really good analogy all the time when you're talking about making a pizza. So for a watch, you have everything you need. Pepperonis, cheese, the crust, the dough, the flour, everything. But when you get a warning, you actually have that pizza in order, and you put everything together, and you have the pizza to present. So when you have a warning issued, it means take action immediately. And so for one of those days, of course, that makes it a First Alert day. North Carolina has been really fortunate. We haven't had any major hurricanes in the past few years, but many people are still feeling the impacts from some monster storms like Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Florence.
Hurricane Matthew hit North Carolina back in 2016. Some people just moving into their new homes years after the state promised help. Troubleshooter Diane Wilson has been investigating the problems with the state-run program Rebuild NC for years. Diane, getting an update on the progress made so far, the people preparing for their first hurricane season in their new home.
I'm standing there and the water's just rising and it's coming really fast and I'm like, oh my God. And I just started praying.
Praying as floodwaters from Hurricane Matthew surrounded Dorothy Moore's Red Springs home of 39 years.
To have all that water come and all that damage and not be in a flood zone, that was something else.
Matthew left her roof in shambles, water damage throughout the inside of her home, and structurally,
the foundation, the bricks were just split.
She tried to rebuild, but then
Hurricane Florence got rid of all the work that I had done and did more damage.
Insurance only covering so much, her house still not safe to live in. So she applied and got approved for a state-run program known as Rebuild NC. The program, backed by federal dollars, helps low-income homeowners fix or rebuild their hurricane-damaged homes. But our investigation showed for many, it took years for Rebuild to deliver.
They went a whole year without even doing instruction.
After our investigations, state lawmakers launched their own investigation into Rebuild NC, as only 25% of the more than 4,000 applicants had their home repairs completed years after the program started. Rebuild admitted the program is not where it should be, but promised change. Sure enough, Rebuild went from completing 5 homes a month to now more than 125 homes a month. According to Rebuild, to date, more than 2,200 families are back in their safer, more resilient homes, and 637 projects are currently in the construction phase. As for how many applicants are still waiting, 1,400 are still in the pre-construction phase.
I watched every time I drove by.
For more, it was well worth the wait.
I finally saw the sides go up. At least I know I'm on a solid foundation, because this house was built from the ground. I watched them build it.
A solid foundation that's raised 2 feet higher to protect her from any future hurricanes.
I am in love with my house. And when I came in here and I started looking around, wow, this is my house.
So glad that Dorothy is enjoying her new house. Now, Rebuild NC is not taking any new applications, so if your house gets hit with hurricane damage, you will have to go straight to your insurance company. Remember, take photos, video of any of the damage so you have documentation of it. Also, if it's a big storm, just know that it will take insurance adjusters a few days to get to your house. I'm troubleshooter Diane Wilson, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
Still to come, storms changing the shoreline along the Outer Banks, homes crumbling into the ocean. Next, we'll tell you why this is happening and what's being done to fix it.
And later, getting you storm ready, how to spot zombie trees on your property, the hidden dangers they could bring to your home.
And let's check back in with the team talking about another danger during the hurricane season, those spin-up tornadoes.
It's always the right side of the storm we're concerned about the most, right? Mm-hmm. And anytime we have a hurricane that's moving on shore, and in those bands, we see those bands coming around, the rotation can be really intense.
Sometimes what you'll see in hurricanes are what Steve noted, feeder bands, which are those little long bands that stretch outside of the center of a hurricane, allowing the twisting and the turning of the winds, potentially spawning a tornado or a water spout. Imagine we're really close together, standing really close together. It's hard to twist and turn, but if we are apart, it's easier to move around. That is how you can think about a tornado in regard to a hurricane.
Let's take you further up the coast now. The Outer Banks no stranger to hurricane activity, and a big issue for the beaches up there is shoreline erosion.
And we've seen at least 6 homes collapse into the ocean within the past few years, posing a problem not just for homeowners, but also beachgoers as the debris drifts along the shoreline.
Tom George headed up to Rodanthe to see what is happening.
He's also asking what's being done to fix it.
As you cross over bridges with water as far as the eye can see and head down narrow, sand-swept roads, it's a reminder of why the Outer Banks are the perfect escape.
30 years ago, built the first house.
Like many, Scott Sarine was drawn to the miles of pristine beaches.
Back then, you know, there was a very wide beach and like I said, a double dune line out here, and it's like, oh, this is great. But, you know, the storms over time have taken their toll.
Once it seemed like a gradual shrinking of coastline.
And now the houses are falling in.
On this June day, remnants of the latest home to fall in. People hanging out at the beach right next to the latest collapse as debris washed up from the ocean. Just in the past 4 years, there have been 6 homes, all in Rodanthe, that have collapsed. Some during storms, 2 on the same day, but others, like this latest one just weeks ago, out of the blue as erosion finally caught up. Well, even on a nice beach day, you see just how high the water line is, but looking at this row of homes, this one completely gone, washed away in the ocean. The one next to it you see right here just had some repairs done, but even that is on borrowed time.
On borrowed time, and I tell you, it's almost borrowed out, actually, you know.
Dario Durentis works construction in the Outer Banks. Most of his work on homes a little bit more set back from the waterline, out of harm's way, but others are in a precarious spot even before they inevitably fall in.
And once the septic tanks, you know, they get washed out, they condemn it. They come out here and condemn it right away.
But sometimes even homeowners sandwiched between homes that are either gone or condemned and have water up to their front door still try and squeeze more life out of them.
Sometimes I tell them, you know, it's not worth it. You know, but they just like to get it back so they can rent it for one more season. So bring some income in, you know what I mean, is what they're thinking.
The problem is insurance companies also know it's a matter of time, and until a home collapses, there's nothing they can do.
You can't get insurance money for a house that hasn't fallen in yet. So they wait for it to fall in, then you can get the insurance money.
It's why the superintendent of the National Park Service covering Cape Hatteras says they launched a pilot program to buy up some of the homes to tear them down. But it's all voluntary. They have to pay market value, and they have to find homeowners who want to sell.
We had 2 willing sellers, houses that were essentially in the ocean at high tide every day. We found the money to purchase those properties. We removed the houses completely, demolished them completely, and restored the beach. And if we went out to that location today, you wouldn't have much to see because it would just be a beautiful beach.
They've successfully bought 2 homes, and they want to see the state fund the program even more, because the beach line, as we know it, needs to change.
Climate change and sea level rise may exacerbate this problem, but this phenomenon that we're seeing with erosion and loss of oceanfront beaches is something that's common on all barrier islands.
But as seasons change, some still ready to roll with the tides, even if it means going down with the ship.
I love it down here. I came down here in high school and surfed, and I'm still surfing, and we're going to stay.
No matter what.
No matter what, we're here.
In Rodanthe, Tom George, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.
It's not just homes along the coast that are at risk during a storm. Hurricanes can also hit us right here in the heart of Carolina. When we come back, what you can do to make sure your home is storm ready.
And there's one more thing you need to look for. They're called zombie trees. Now, they're not dead, but they are damaged. And when a hurricane rolls through, they can cause all kinds of problems at your house.
And as we head to break, scan this QR code for everything you need in your hurricane preparedness kit. Here are our top picks.
Batteries, lots of batteries.
Sure. Your insurance information and documentation is critical.
Yeah, water. You may not have access to water, so think about this. A gallon of water per day, per person, generally speaking, that's a good amount of water to have.
Pills, got to have pills if you've got medication. Make sure you've got enough to get you through at least 3 or 4 days. And finally, if you have pets, make sure to have their paperwork in your paperwork with your insurance, because not all hurricane shelters take pets. So if you need to put that pet in a hurricane pet shelter, you need to have documentation of vaccination and all its medical history. It's really helpful for those pet shelters to worry about too.
North Carolina, we have lots of trees, and they're everywhere. Some of them standing tall and splendid, others standing tall and dead. We call those zombie trees. So how do you spot one?
Things to look for, certainly any dead and broken branches, any discoloration in the leaves, bad branch attachments, any cracks or splits, cavities in the trunk. Something to be aware of or a way to identify it. There's no needles left on there. The bark's starting to come off on the tree. You see the top was broken out at one point.
Now, how did zombie trees develop?
Yeah, so it can be things that happen as the result of a storm, so damage from high winds and rain. There are also things within a tree that make it more likely to break. Mushrooms are a good indicator whether it's around the tree or on the tree itself. It's an indication of rot, and it could be that those are dead roots or a dead section of the tree that's been invaded by a fungus, and it's further decayed and weakened because of it.
So some zombie trees can be saved.
Yeah, and that's good news, right? I mean, I like to think we're in the business of saving trees, and sometimes that is removing the whole tree, but a lot of times it's pruning or cabling or bracing or some other methods that can keep the tree healthy. Or even after a severe storm comes through, have your trees looked at, because there could be damage there that you don't realize, and you may end up with one of those zombie trees.
Kind of like a tree physical.
A checkup, we call it, yeah. In general, being proactive is the way to handle this, and that's doing things like pruning and thinning that we were talking about, picking the right tree for the right location when you're planting. Also things like fertilizing and giving it nutrients to help it grow steadily and healthy.
And here are some more tips to make sure your home is hurricane ready. We caught up with Megan Porter, an insurance adjuster with the North Carolina Farm Bureau. Here's what you can do to prepare.
Let's talk about some of the more vulnerable areas on the house. And right here we have the garage door. And I know people think, you know, this might be the safest place to be, but we know things can come flying through the garage door.
Yeah, so your garage door is obviously just not one of the main durable structure of the house. So making sure that it's properly locked, working, that it's closed, flying objects, this is a prime location for things to go through. So the garage door can be very susceptible to damage, to wind-blown objects, wind-driven objects. So just making sure that it's structurally sound, it's locked if possible, can just help minimize some damage there.
So we know the next area that we need to take care of is patio furniture, anything in the yards, potted plants. Tell us about what we should be taking care of here.
Yeah, anything that's not permanently secured to the ground. So this can be patio furniture, potted plants, kids' toys, trampolines, your trash cans, things like that. It'd be best to just remove them, put them in the garage. Just it helps prevent damage to your home, potential damage to your neighbor's home. So anything that you can remove and pick up, we just advise doing that prior to a big storm coming. It's also great for homeowners to start taking inventory of what's in their home, going room by room, taking inventory of what's in there, values, descriptions. So in the event they do have a storm or a hurricane, that there's a loss of some sort, it's a lot easier to work with their insurance company and their adjuster to kind of get them back to normal state.
Thank you for watching our ABC 11 Severe Weather Special.
Remember, you can count on us to keep you safe during any and every storm.
One other thing you can do right now to get storm ready, download the ABC 11 mobile app. We'll send you the information you need right to your phone. It's a great resource to have if you ever lose power during a hurricane or with any other severe storm.
The preceding ABC 11 Eyewitness News special was sponsored by Triangle Pest Control.